Hey, beautiful people. I'm going to record this again because I had to end suddenly because someone turned up to my house. My son did a somersault on the lounge and had no pants on. It was all happening. So I thought I'll jump on and redo this video. I wanted to jump on. Most of you will know if you've been following me that my son for this week has had hand, foot and mouth, which has been really awful. I actually thought he had the chicken pox or the measles or something when we first kind of identified it. But this is not uncommon, these viral things, which are typically things that you might go to the doctor for because kids are really sick, you don't know what they are, and there's nothing you can do to treat them from a pharmaceutical perspective. But there are actually plenty of natural things that already exist here in Mother Nature that we can use to support, one, ourselves and two, our kids through. So when I got the call on Saturday night, I was teaching a workshop in the Northern Beaches in Sydney. I was down in Sydney for the weekend with my family running some workshops. And my husband sent me a message. He wanted to go to the pub and have a beer with his mates. And he was like, oh, Logan's sick. He's got a fever. I said, well, give him some Panadol. Like, I'm not there. Anyway, the fever continued for two and a bit nights. And he was pretty not great. Super clingy, like all the things, really unhappy, quite miserable, irritable. On Monday morning, I was doing a day of work in Sydney and was getting him dressed in the morning and noticed he had two little spots. One was on his nose and one was like a little blister thing on his thigh. And I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. Anyway, I said to my husband, just keep an eye on the spots because I was feeling a little bit nervous. Anyway, when I got home from work that afternoon, we decided we'd probably drive home at night so that he might sleep. That didn't happen. Rather than going home the next morning. So I wanted to walk you through what other things that we did from the moment that he broke that first fever. So the first thing that I often do when he breaks a fever is take the temperature. So it's actually okay for us to have fevers. What it is our body is raising our body temperature. So our body is quite intelligent. Our body is naturally raising our body temperature to put it in this really important state where it can actually try to kill off naturally whatever's going on in our body. So when our body's cool, it can't fight. So it's actually really healthy to have a bit of a fever. Like, you don't want it to be 42, but you don't need to run to Panadol when it's 37, when it's 38. Now, if you have a newborn baby, I'm not talking 2-day-old babies. So if you are a brand new mama, talk to your doctor about at what point does that temperature become quite critical, because for new babies, particularly under I think 4 months, the temperature is very different. So for my son who's 19 months, nearly 20 months, when he has a temperature, we don't kind of throw Panadol straight down his throat. Certainly if it was kind of pushing 40 and over 40, we definitely would be. But the first thing I turn to is my oils. So this is a headache roller with my label coming off. This just has some really diluted peppermint and lavender in it, which I tend to put on my temples. And so often what I do is I roll this down his little spine and I might roll it up his little calf muscles to just help kind of lower the body temperature a little bit more gently. And then we tend to just see what happens. If we need to go to Panadol, we generally will. We also start implementing our immune support oils. So these are oils that have some really incredible power, some really incredible properties to help fight viruses. So our plants that live here in Mother Nature, they have the power to do this, to protect themselves. So if you think about an orange in the wild, that skin has some really incredible molecules that if we were to take that skin off, that orange would go moldy. So if you think about whatever's in that skin, those molecules, if it can protect the orange, it can help protect us. So I use things like On Guard. I use things like tea tree. I use things like frankincense. So these are all really, really supportive from an immune perspective. Oils get down to the cellular level, which is incredible. Now, in terms of viruses, they live on the inside of our cells and bacteria grows on the outside. So when we take antibiotics, they get to the cell wall, but they can't penetrate through to get to the viruses. The molecules of oils are so small that they can get through. They get through the cell wall and they can get into those viruses and kind of support our bodies through that process. So for me personally, what I find and what I have experienced is when I start using these in the way that they're intended to be used, I find that the length of illness is shortened quite dramatically. So we had 2 really, really bad nights, like no sleep, 3 really bad nights, no sleep whatsoever. He was very uncomfortable. We didn't know what it was because there was no physical signs at that point. So he was obviously itching and the sores were developing. And then he became quite itchy and irritated. So we were doing a lot of massage. So oregano, nature's antibiotic, roll this along his feet. That's what I've been doing. I've been rolling frankincense along his spine 3 to 4 times a day. I've also been applying tea tree and On Guard 3 to 4 times a day, and I'm diffusing this non-stop in the home. So in his bedroom, I'm diffusing it with some lavender. Like I've got it on now. I've just put him down for a nap. And when he goes to bed at night, I'll diffuse the same thing. So I always use my sleep, but then I will just add, 1 to 2 drops of each of these with a couple of drops of lavender. Depends on how big their room is. I've also been using rose. There was some incredible information released last year around rose and its ability to support us with our immune function. So I've actually just been rolling that around his belly. Hello, beautiful Suze. I've been rolling it around his belly button kind of at the same time I apply these other oils, and it's obviously a really beautiful high vibrational oil. I've been using oils like lavender to coat his body. So the other night when we were driving home, he was quite irritated and itchy, and we had nothing we could give him. And so he really needed like an antihistamine, right? So I just opened up my oil bag. I had some fractionated coconut oil in my handbag, and I used tea tree, lavender, and Roman chamomile, and I also used some manuka. And so I just popped a drop of each in my hand, and then I massaged it like over his feet and his hands. Once we got home, I've got that pre-made up. So tea tree, frankincense, manuka, and lavender. And then I was actually adding some chamomile in. So chamomile is incredibly soothing for the skin. So we've been popping that in our baths. We've been having a bath each day. We're having lots of showers. I'm also washing my hands a lot with On Guard. So we have our own, hand washes that we make with that. This morning I made some body wash up, which I did a live on Instagram and it didn't save, but I'll pop it up here soon. This is just some Castile soap, some water, a little bit of almond oil, and some tea tree and lavender. I use this for my face. My son uses this for all over his body, shampoo, etc. These are great because they lock. And basically it comes out in a foam. It's a foaming pump spray. So we're just kind of using everything we can to support our bodies. Washing your hands is really important. Regular showers with this sort of thing, lots of kind of soothing massages, body creams, that sort of stuff. If you have a normal body cream at home that's unscented and not full of nasties, then you could just pop something like your tea tree and lavender in your hand, add it to your cream. That's what I've been doing at night. So it's really kind of a nice thick barrier cream so that when he's rolling around in his pajamas, he's not sort of, itching or scratching his skin. And I've been really upping the frankincense because once the sores so most of them apart from one, like the blisters, like the fluids come out, and what we don't want is scars, And what we don't want is for him to be scratching and infections and those sorts of things. So frankincense is incredibly healing for the skin, as is lavender. It's very calming. So that combination, like that's what I use on my face, guys, for anti-aging. So that's what I want to be using on my son's sores to really kind of keep them not inflamed and to make sure that they heal properly without any kind of marks. The other thing that we've been using a lot of, funnily enough, is Digest Zen. So he's had some pretty not great tummy, pretty not great bowel movements. Oh, I can hear my phone ringing. So we've been applying that to all of our bellies 3 to 4 times a day, and particularly his before and after meals, when he wakes up, before he goes to sleep, all that sort of stuff. So that's been really, really supportive. Trusty balance. This is probably more on my end because it's not easy being a mum to a sick kid, or a dad to a sick kid, or a carer to a sick kid. We all need a little bit of balance. So I have been, this actually is pre-diluted. These are great to pop a rollerball straight on. I've just been kind of rubbing a bit on my temples, even just inhaling. And I've been rubbing a little bit of this on his temples just before we kind of start thinking about nap time, just to kind of really bring everything back down to base, which is really, really beautiful. I have noticed that he actually he's just had an ongoing snot and colds and things for the last couple of months, which has been really hard because we're in that 18-month needle phase, which we still haven't had. So I've been using a lot of Easy Air and a lot of On Guard on the chest. So funny story, I actually turned to doTERRA when my son was about 6 weeks old because I was told to get On Guard. And I remember at the time I bought a diffuser and I bought some oils from a different brand, just from the health food shop. And they were helpful, like they worked. It took a long time. And then I remember when I got Easy Air, the doTERRA Easy Air, as opposed to another version's, brand of maybe Breathe, some type of Breathe oil. This worked in like 24 to 48 hours and the other oil took a week to 10 days. That is the difference between this brand, guys. It's so potent, so powerful. You notice the difference. It's a bit like buying your jeans from Kmart to Jeans West. They're going to last longer and they're going to be heaps better. They're going to be more comfy. They're going to have a better fit. And you're just going to know that you spent the money and you invested in the right product in the first place. So I advocate for these real big time because I'd hate to see you blow your money on something that's still going to take a long time to work. You want something that's going to actually support you through this and to speed up that healing process so that maybe you're down and out for a couple of days, not 10 days. And that's what I experienced with these oils. I can tell you on our way home from Sydney, Logan was screaming. As soon as we applied the oils, he would stop within moments. He would be calm and he would pass out. It wouldn't last forever. We kept applying them kind of and I just kept putting my hands back and rubbing his little feet and rubbing his hands because they were really itchy. But as soon as we did that again, he would calm, he would pass out. So he kept having like these little 20-minute to 30-minute naps until eventually we'd applied it enough that they were really kind of working on a longer. So oils tend to kind of 2.5 hours they're metabolized in the body. So you're not going to get an all-day benefit. You have to keep applying them really regularly. So using this combination of oils has just proven to be so incredibly helpful. I cannot believe that he's like running around happy as Larry. He's not irritated. We haven't given him Panadol since the first 2 nights that we gave him, and in fact it didn't do anything. It didn't bring the temperature down and he was still quite irritated. We thought it would just help him sleep by maybe reducing the pain and uncomfortableness, but it didn't at all. So we will keep applying, particularly the oils like On Guard and Tea Tree, Frankie, every single day until after the sores have gone, and probably for another few days after that, to really make sure, it's a bit like antibiotics. You take the course, you don't stop taking them as soon as you feel better because then things tend to come back. And so I'm only really using oregano maybe once a day, twice a day at the moment, when he wakes up and when he goes to bed, because it is super duper powerful, and this is pre-diluted, which is safe for the kiddies. But yeah, the rose, the frankincense, tea tree, like all those really gentle oils we're using every single day, multiple times a day, for both him and I, which is really, really beautiful. And I'm really looking forward to, I might actually take some pictures of his feet and hands and things and do an after effect, which would be really interesting to see. So if you have these ongoing viral things that keep coming up in your family, if you have children, or maybe you've got grandchildren, or maybe you yourself have recurrent kind of chesty things or whatever, give me a shout out, because I would love to support you to get some of these into your home, and love to, teach you how to use them really effectively and safely. So how long are you lasting? Yeah, Nikki, good question. I mean, I don't use, this amount of oils I've just had sitting on my bench. They would last, so like I go through a bottle of lavender every 3 months. I go through a bottle of Digestion. Well, so in a bottle of Digestion, there's 250 drops. And if you put 10 to 20 drops in a roller, you get quite a lot of rollers. I probably go through a roller a month. So that's still going to last you like probably close to a year. 6 to 12 months is probably how long most of the oils, like I personally using them every day. I tend to go through two home essential kits a year, with the exception of things like lavender that I use every day. I find probably a bottle of On Guard I'll go through over winter. Easy Air, the same thing. Just varies. I would only buy 1 or 2 bottles of tea tree a year. But that's it. So we don't take pharmaceuticals. So like I don't buy Panadol, I don't buy hay fever tablets, I don't buy naproxenic, like I don't buy period pain tablets, I don't buy Dencarab, I don't, so when you add up all the money that you might spend on the pharmaceutical stuff, I don't buy body wash, I don't buy face wash, I don't buy any products for my son. I make them all. So really kind of somewhere between $300 and $600 a year is nothing, absolutely nothing. Make all my own spray and wipe, make my own laundry detergent. Like it's so incredible. It's so incredible. Obviously when you start using them for other things, so I use them a lot for perfume and for mood management. I mean, I give a lot out, so I tend to use more than the average person. But I would think if you use them regularly in your home on a daily basis, you would probably go through 2 home essentials kits a year, which is nothing. It's nothing, $660. And that really is like your natural first aid kit. So you can make all your own skincare, all your own cleaning products, baby wipes, things like body wash, so easy. A bottle like this of Castile soap's like $12. You would easily get probably 10 body washes out of that. So, it's just, it's too economical. Anyway, I just wanted this to be a super quick one, which I'm never good at doing, but, we've covered it off. If you have any questions, let me know. I will talk to you soon.